For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's 8th practice of fall camp and their first fall camp scrimmage. Now, Dan, let's get your overall thoughts. What did you think of today's scrimmage?
I just liked it. They ran 100 plays. I thought that was terrific. They worked really hard. They went till 6:20. All four quarterbacks got a lot of work. A lot of receivers got a lot of work. A lot of cornerbacks got a lot of work. I thought they looked like they wanted to work. They looked like they wanted to play hard. I thought we saw good pursuit angles and good, some decent gang tackling, and for the first time where they really done this, I thought it was pretty positive. I don't think we saw a scrimmage with anything like this intensity, with the number of guys that got to play. And with the amount of hitting, I just thought people wanted to hit. I mean, we saw some good blocks. Marquise Stepp, for example, on a 12-yard touchdown pass to Devin Williams, where he reversed and he got to the goal line because Marquise Stepp had just a terrific downfield block. So I think those were, some positive signs, really.
I know all eyes are on the quarterback competition. Now, Dan, before I ask you for your opinion on how they performed today, we actually have some unofficial stats from the USCFootball.com team from today. So JT Daniels was 22 for 30. There's some debate on whether or not he had a sack against him. So we had two versions of the stats. So he had 242 yards with 5 touchdowns, and that's without counting the sack. With the sack, that's 192 yards for 4 touchdowns. Jack Sears was 20 of 22 with 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. Matt Fink was 10 for 10 for 167 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 of them normal passing touchdowns, 1 him running. And then Keaton Slovis was 12 for 22 for 134 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. So that was a mouthful. Hopefully you got that. But Dan, what did you think of the quarterbacks today?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that stood out was I just thought Matt Fink looked like a senior. He looked like a guy who was comfortable out there. He's bigger, stronger. He's had a couple of really good-looking deep balls. Didn't have an incompletion. Ran a touchdown in. I thought he had, in terms of the guy who makes that big day step up, I thought Matt did that. I thought JT kind of fought back and was in there, and some situations where guys dropped the ball or whatever happened, but he ended up with a very respectable day. I think he got some great help from Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had an All-American day. I mean, the word Clay used was phenomenal. Yeah. And it's nice when you can get that modern day hookup and on those crossing routes and all of that. I thought it's interesting with the numbers for Jack Sears, because 20 for 22. If he doesn't have anything, he's going to take off with it. And if you've got people that are very pass conscious on defense, sprinting out to get into their coverage areas or to follow people if you're in man, and you've got an athletic quarterback, he can just take off and he's running up behind you. So I think they all did what they did. I think, being a freshman, being a young guy, might have caught up a little bit with Keaton today. Yeah. As Clay likes to use that, coach speak of, with live bullets flying around out there. But I think the game looked a little fast for Keaton today. But I thought with Matt Fink might have been the one that you said, wow, he looks like, he kind of, there's a place for him. He's healthy now. That knee's okay. And with a much stronger arm, this is a quarterback-friendly offense. Yep. And you can see it on a day like today. It really is.
As you mentioned, Amon-Ra, as Clay Helton described, had a phenomenal day today. But I thought another guy who stood out was Velus Jones. Now, he wasn't here in the spring. It looks like he finally got up to speed today in today's scrimmage.
He looks like a different player. Yeah. I mean, he looks like he'll make a cut. Or he went one-on-one with him on a couple of times where he's out wide, and they just said, we're going to give you a chance to get down the field and catch it. And there are times where you think, is that Amon-Ra or Velus? I mean, Velus is awfully improved. There's just something about him It's interesting. Two of the guys that went in the transfer portal, Matt Fink and Vilas, came back and really looked like there's a place, for those two guys, on this team. But I know Vilas just made plays that last year he might have come close, but maybe not make the play. The deep ball under coverage where you're getting pushed a little bit, and he makes the catch. Very impressive day from the two wide receivers that you're not always sure who's who because they physically resemble one another so much. But I think Amon-Ra looks like he's got that moving into that Vilas speed, and I think Vilas is moving into that Amon-Ra ability to really be a wide receiver and have all the tricks of a wide receiver. So pretty good development there, I think, with those two.
We saw some mixing and matching again with the defensive backs. It's partially because Talanoa Hufanga is a little bit limited with that collarbone surgery that he had in the spring. He wasn't in for the full tackling portion of practice, but when they moved to like a thud-like tackling, Talanoa came back. But when he wasn't out there, Chase Williams took over for his spot, and then Greg Johnson took over the nickel spot. You saw Elijah Griffin and Chris Steele take over for the corners. ITS, Isaac Taylor-Stewart, was someone that Clay said that he had a little bit of a groin pull. We did see him get some work with the second team. But Dan, what did you see from the defensive backs in particular?
Yeah, I like the ability to, switch back and forth from with Chase Williams and Greg Johnson to be able to, alternate at those spots, and it gives you a lot more flexibility. I think Clay felt that, and Clancy, and we could hear him talking, and that Elijah had another really good day. Yeah. I think Isaac Taylor, you could tell he probably didn't have that burst that and they were taking advantage. They're getting enough pass protection that they're feeling fairly comfortable on throwing that, taking that deep shot. But I think Chris Steele had one of those days where he just keeps competing, and I think it's going to be really important that you have 4 or 5 corners that really, really make it clear that they want to be on the field. I think we saw freshman Adonis Odi make the pick in the end zone that I thought, he looked good, and Chase Williams got a pick. So we're seeing other guys that, but they need some work.
Yeah.
There's some situations where this offense is going to make life pretty tough, I think, on a lot of defensive backs. So as Clay talked, and I think this is the way you got to think about this team, is you want them having the feeling that this is the toughest game and the toughest opposition that those guys are, in the secondary are going to have to play against this group of wide receivers, this group of quarterbacks, this offense, and that when they get to Saturday, they'll be ready to play on Saturday because they've had to face these guys all through the fall camp.
Yeah, and credit to Adonis. He was picked on a little bit in the beginning of practice with Velus Jones getting a couple touchdowns over him, but then he came back with that interception, so resilience there for the true freshman. But Dan, the age-old question is offense, defense, who's really winning in a training camp when you're going against each other, especially when it comes to the lines? What did you see up front, especially with the running game today?
That's what's so hard. Even when you get a chance to see the film, you're not always sure how you ought to grade everything out, but not seeing the film, it's really hard to get a sense. And you can notice a Jay Tufele. You can notice, let's say Connor Murphy. If he gets a bat down, he's or gets a big tackle for loss, he's 6'7". But you don't always get a chance. We think we've seen Andrew Voorhees with some sharp-looking blocks at the line of scrimmage or pulling, and so we like, but with 100 plays, and there were so many guys doing so many things that I might pull the coach speak and say you'd really like to see the film on this one when you get to the kind of day, a 100-play day.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. As far as injuries, USC came out pretty clean on the injury side. Drake Jackson was going up to bat a ball down and got poked in the eye, so he came out, but he looked fine when he was walking off the field. Munir McClain came out towards the latter half of practice. He was with trainers, wondering if it's that knee that he had an issue with his senior year in high school. Then the other McClain brother, Abdul Malik McClain, it looked like he had a little bit of a foot issue with his right foot, but that's also TBD. But Dan, any final thoughts? We're losing daylight right now. Any final thoughts from the first scrimmage for the Trojans?
Well, I think on the play where Drake Jackson got poked in the eye, he accelerated off the ground so quickly. I mean, JT was trying to throw something quick and, boom, boom, and Drake Jackson was just up so quick. I don't think JT realized where did he come from? How did he get there that quickly? And then he comes down and, he got poked in the eye. But I'm pretty pleased with how they went about things. I thought it was very workmanlike, like very much, this is who we are, this is how we do things. We're just going to keep plugging away and believing in what we're doing, and and we're going to try to make it happen. And they obviously have to work a little bit on the run game. I mean, it's sometimes it was there, a lot of times it wasn't. Some of that you have to credit to the defense. So that's one of those glass half fulls, and how do you measure that? You don't really always know how to measure it. But I think workmanlike is the way. I want to see these guys go out there and feel like we work like crazy. We pushed it as hard as we could. We know what we're trying to do. If you had a red flag, it would have been the 10 flags.
Yes.
That was the first time. I mean, they're under pressure. They're trying hard. There were 8 Pac-12 officials there, and more than one, and they all look legit. So I think that was a good thing to have them here again, throwing those flags and having these guys having to perform under. There was a lot of pressure. I mean, this had the sense of kind of a game feel to it, and I think we were fairly critical last year that a lot of things they did getting up to the season, and then once the season got here, didn't have that game tempo, that game speed, that game pressure. I don't think you got that sense today. I think you got the sense that they're getting pushed, they're pushing one another, and hopefully they're making one another better.
Yeah. What do you take away from this first scrimmage, though? Can you take away a lot, or is it still kind of raw in this stage of fall camp?
I think I'd take away the fact that this is a team that looks like they want to play, that they want to play hard, that they want to play physical, and they're learning how to do it. And it wasn't something that came very naturally last year, and I don't think we walked away from a lot of things with that feeling. Mm-hmm. I think we've got that feeling. It's a young team. Again, it surprises you when you look out on the field and when you look who's making the plays, how young they are. I mean, there are a lot of, Amon-Ra, sophomore, JT, sophomore, Paleo Niautiote, sophomore. A lot of young guys. They even had Raylan Goforth go in there with Jordan Iosefa, not going to be around for at least a month, and John Houston comes out, and as a fifth-year player, he kind of plays the part of a coach. Yeah. And that's good. I mean, we like that. I thought Matt Fink showed his experience. That's a good thing. So you saw some things that you liked. Yeah.
Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for USC's 8th practice of fall camp and their first scrimmage. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.